Jim Ratcliffe was in attendance at Old Trafford for the first time since his 25% investment into Manchester United was confirmed back on the 24th of December. We're still waiting for it to be officially ratified by the Premier League. Now, Ratcliffe spoke about that, spoke about how excited he is, and what I'm going to do in this video is just run through his brief 5-minute chat with the press at Old Trafford. It's not something that the Glazers, I don't think, have ever done. So that's a change and a difference. But what was said, what did he speak about, what didn't he speak about? I'll run through it all in this video. Please drop a like on it if you do enjoy it and you want to learn a bit more about the takeover as we cover it here on United People's TV. But Ratcliffe's presence at Old Trafford, I've already spoken about this before, is already a marked shift from the Glazers. The fact that they lurked in the shadows. Now, speaking about the takeover itself and when it's going to be officially ratified, Ratcliffe said that Ineos are aiming for early to mid-February, which is what we expected. Of course, the takeover was confirmed on the 24th of December. And we were told there was going to be a period of roughly between 6 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks was what certain papers were saying. 4 to 6 weeks was another. So if it's early to mid-Feb, it's around about the 6 week-ish, 6 to 8 week mark, which is what you would expect for the fit and proper owners test to be completed and for Ratcliffe to become United's new owner of the football operations of the club. And it's so mad when you say it and you think about it. The Glazers have given up 100% control of anything to do with Man United as a football team for 25% of the overall control of the club. It's mad. And Jim Ratcliffe is somebody who has invested in a lot of things and has been very successful overall in doing so. But he himself has said that he feels this caps it all. I've done a few exciting things, he says, but this caps it all. Jim Ratcliffe is he simply adding a football club to his repertoire of sporting investments from an ego perspective, which is what certain people feel he is doing? He's at the age of 71. How long is he really going to be here for to really take Manchester United back to the top? Does he really love the club? He was a Chelsea season ticket holder. So many doubts. And that's what it is being a United fan these days. Natural pessimism. But until Jim Ratcliffe actually actions those changes, those opinions won't really switch. But Jim Ratcliffe has said he's very excited to be here. I'm excited about the next few years ahead compared to the last few years we've had. And you know, one thing I'm definitely excited about is this. Now, this is the first sort of confirmation we've got from Ratcliffe or Ineos that there will be kind of like we don't know how open this forum will be, right? But Ratcliffe's confirmed, he said this, he was asked for his impressions on Carrington. I don't think that would be appropriate. Good question, though. You can give me a hard time in 3 to 4 weeks. Then I'll do my best to answer. So Jim Ratcliffe confirming there that he's going to give the press the opportunity to grill him on his 25% takeover. And that in itself is a massive shift from the Glazers. This is from the Manchester Evening News, which I already knew, but it's just written down here. None of the journalists who were working for Manchester United when the Glazer family completed their takeover in 2005 have ever spoken to Avram, Joel, Brian, Edward, Kevin, or Darcy. And Darcy is never... who cares about... The press have never had the opportunity to speak to the Glazers. The press have never had the opportunity to sit the Glazers down and grill them. Why are you taking dividends out of the club? Why is it that you haven't appointed a sporting director? Why is it that your football structure is so chaotic and awful? Why did you appoint Richard Arnold as a CEO when he wasn't fit for purpose and didn't have any experience? And so the list goes on and on and on. But they've never faced those criticisms from the press because they've never faced the press. That's something that Jim Ratcliffe will do straight away. And that is where we're going to get the actual insight into Jim Ratcliffe's plans. That's where, leave no stone unturned, that phrase. If the press have the opportunity to, I suppose, grill Ratcliffe, they're going to ask questions, maybe, that he wouldn't be planning on sort of answering himself. We need that. Communication, transparency is a big problem at this club. So it's good to hear straight away from Ratcliffe that he plans on doing that. And something else he plans to do as well is have a presence. He said, I can't come all the time to Old Trafford because I have a few other things to manage, but I will come quite a lot. And again, I've mentioned this a few times. I did a short video last week that plenty of people responded to. And I said that basically Jim Ratcliffe has already done more than the Glazers did in nearly 20 years. Pledged $200 million of his own money that's going into the club. Yes, he'll be getting more of a percentage. His 25% will be going up to 29%, but that is $200 million more than the Glazers have ever personally put into the club. He's spent more time at Old Trafford than some of the Glazers already. He's spoken to the press directly. The Glazers never did that. He will be interviewed by the press directly. The Glazers have never done that. He's clearly seen it wasn't very hard really to see what the Glazers have done wrong. And the fact that he's going to hopefully have that presence. I don't expect Ratcliffe to be here 2 times a month. All right? But having that presence will make a difference. It's going to be about, to use the phrase from Dave Browse, for marginal gains. It'll be about getting 3% here, 3% there, 5% here, 5% there. Jim Ratcliffe's presence at Old Trafford, that will count for 5%. Jim Ratcliffe giving the press the opportunity to ask the questions that us fans would ask him, that is going to get him an extra 5%. And Jim Ratcliffe's got to find those 5% everywhere to really get some of the fan base on board to support him that have so much doubt towards whether he can actually bring any sort of real change to our club. Now, he was further questioned about have you spoken to the players? And he said, it would kind of be inappropriate until the acquisition is confirmed. But to repeat, that should be confirmed early to mid-February. And that is something that I'm really looking forward to, because I would love to be able to sit in that press room when Jim Ratcliffe gives the press the opportunity to speak to them. I'm going to try. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. After reading that, I'm going to try and reach out to Ineos wherever possible. See if somehow I can pose some questions to Rack. I don't think that will be the case. I'll be completely honest. It's a pipe dream. But communication's a big thing. It has been a massive thing since the very, very beginning, right? And one thing that I want to point out here as well, Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos haven't taken over just yet, but they have control over footballing decisions. And we've seen the first example of that now in this. Hannibal Mejbri is leaving to join Sevilla, and there's a €20 million buy option inside that contract. But Ineos have stepped in and made sure that a potential buyback clause is in that deal. So United were willing to just let Hannibal go for €20 million. And if he went on to become a Ballon d'Or, which he won't, I don't believe. But if he went on to absolutely nail it and we wanted to buy him back, we'd have to buy him back for X amount of money. It's a smart way of thinking. And also, it's just the first example of Ineos stepping in and changing something for the better. It may only be minuscule, but it's the first public example of it that I have seen there. Because we should have a buyback on Hannibal. We should have a buyback on any player that we sell who could potentially go on to be a better player than the player we're selling. So when you're selling youngsters, Hannibal's only 20, got his whole career ahead of him. Yeah, you should be including that. I would think that's kind of standard and default, but United don't really work in that sense. But Jim Ratcliffe plans on completing the takeover by early to mid-Feb. He plans on sitting down with the press and giving them an opportunity to ask him questions. As I said, the sort of questions that we as fans would probably want to ask. What's going on with Old Trafford? Are you planning on knocking it down? I don't think we'll get full clarity on that. But what's your short-term vision for United in the next 6 months? What's the conversations with Erik ten Hag? What improvements do you need to see in this team for Erik ten Hag to stay on as manager for next season? These are all the questions that I think the journalists will ask. And that's the first that we've seen of Jim Ratcliffe at Old Trafford. He said he's going to be there more often. He said he's excited to be there. And all of this, for a lot of fans, is just hot air and noise until real change begins. And real change will begin from early to mid-February. I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming next for United, because if we're being completely truthful, can't really be much worse than what we've seen for quite a while. That's the truth.